Square Media Station.
9, 8, 7.
Stand by for Wyoming Hooking and Hunting Outdoors with your host, Drew Kirby.
Yeehaw! Okay. Holy cow!
May I have your attention, please?
Hey, this is Luke Combs.
I am Morgan Wallen.
I'm Riley Green.
I'm Travis Denning.
Hey, I'm Aaron Lewis.
Hey, it's Luke Bryan.
I'm Tim McGraw.
What's up? This is Ian Munsick.
This is Craig Moore, and you're listening to
Wyoming Hooking and Hunting Outdoors. My Country 95.5.
Hey, thanks for coming in. Another great show. We've got a lot to cover today. Introduce you to the Dallas Safari Club that's right here in Wyoming. I know it seems weird, but we're going to explain it to you a little bit later on this morning with Jamie and Lindsay. Plus, of course, Janet and Brian from Rocky Mountain Discount Sports. All going to be here on another great show. Let's get it rolling. And if you missed any of our previous shows, you can hit us up in the My Country 95.5 app.
On Wyoming Hooking and Hunting Outdoors with Drew Kirby on My Country 95.5. It's Wyoming Hooking and Hunting Outdoors on My Country 95.5.
Well, thank you so much for coming back and joining us. You can listen to all of our shows inside the app on demand. And Janet Millick and Brian Olson are with me from Wyoming Game and Fish Department. Now, Janet, Brian, the animals have been hunted for a few months now, and that kind of causes an issue.
That's right, Drew. This time of year can be kind of a difficult time if you're trying to navigate, in town and even just outside of town. Anybody who's been driving around Casper recently knows that there is just a lot of wildlife. Poplar, Outer Drive, CY, a lot of the parks, Mike Cedar, near Elkhorn, all of those areas. And there's a lot of reasons why. People are in the field, so they're kind of spooking the animals around a little bit. Deer are in the rut, so the bucks are really looking for a doe, and they're single focus on one thing. And so they're not watching for cars. They're not worrying about anything else. They're just worried about themselves. And so that's why we as drivers and walkers and pet owners need to be kind of aware of the situation and make good choices.
It's kind of interesting how you could be out and you could walk miles and miles and, have opportunities to harvest a deer. And, they hear you step on a twig and they're gone. But the car driving 40 miles an hour down the street, they don't care about that. And it really is kind of a scary situation because they could really mess up your day.
Sure. These animals become habituated to having people around, those that are just kind of the townies, as some people call them. And so it is kind of a tricky situation, and people just need to always be aware, whether you're driving or whether you're walking, just be aware of the situation around you. We've got turkeys that like to disturb little children. And so that's, always, we had one, everybody remembers the famous Thomas Gobble, who loved children with a backpack on. Whatever image that created for that turkey, he just loved to chase them. And so those are situations that everybody kind of needs to be aware of and make good choices. And we try to intervene as much as possible, but there's a lot of times that we can't. And so, keep your dog on a leash. Make sure that if you're letting your dogs outside in the morning and you typically have deer around your area or antelope, make sure that they're not around. Just be smart.
I can kind of see if someone is in an area they're not normally driving through, where they may not know where deer are. But deer, even during the rut and hunting season, they kind of have a pattern that they get on. And if you've seen them in the morning, say at the YMCA, as I do coming to work every day, I know that they're there. So I always am alert on that. But if I were driving, on the north side of town, I'm not real sure. What's the best things that people need to look for when they're driving in an area they're not familiar?
Well, I think you kind of treat it like you're in a school zone. You got to watch out for, things that are movement along the side of the road. Just, put your phone down. Good example of not be on your phone. Be alert. I mean, those animals are all over through town. And like I say, we have deer, and we have turkeys, a few antelope. Those are the things that are just kind of moving through town and just being alert. They can just be about anywhere. And just being alert of what's going on in town. I don't know what else to tell you, Drew, but that's kind of like the best advice.
You always see the Animal Crossing signs throughout the area, driving on the highways or whatever. Now, I know some people are thinking, oh, well, they put those up because that's where they want the animals to cross. And that would be nice if you could do that, but that's not really why they're there. Can you explain what those really are and what people need to be alert on?
So the densities of animal collisions with cars are why those signs are there. So those places that we have higher, rates of animals getting hit by vehicles, that's why those signs are up there. So yes, that's why you should be more alert during those areas, because that's usually where deer are crossing. And in town, that's the most common critter that we see that's hit. And we get quite a few every day. It'd be surprising for most people how many deer or other critters get hit in town every day. And it really comes down to people just not paying attention, because it is most of the time during the daylight and not at night.
That being said, we just always want to make sure that people are just, again, aware of their surroundings, because those signs, we get so used to seeing them that we ignore them. It is something that people don't recognize. Those can be high migration areas. So depending on the time of year, that could be where the animals, when they're moving from summer range to lower winter range, are moving across. So you might only see them there 2 times a year. And so the other times of year, you might just ignore that sign and get used to ignoring it. But it's there for a reason, and it's there for public safety.
Into Wyoming hooking and hunting outdoors. My Country 95.5.
Well, Brian, we're getting to that point of the year where it's hard to believe this, but in just a couple of weeks, we're going to be Black Friday shopping.
Oh, yeah, it's coming up quick, and it happens every year.
Every single year, and this year it'll be here before you know it, and the store's looking really full. I mean, a lot of hunters have come in and got all they need, and so the shelves are stocked and ready for anybody else.
Yeah, we got lots of great items, and a lot of good, just regular gift items, but stocking stuffers, and there's a lot of good ideas if you just kind of cruise around and look for some neat stuff.
So you have talked to a lot of hunters this year, and from what I've seen picture-wise, it's been a pretty successful year so far for hunters, which means you guys have gone through a lot of game bags and all the preparations they need to harvest that animal.
Yeah, it's been fun. It's nice working in this type of environment where somebody's excited after the hunt, and they're coming through, and maybe they didn't harvest something, but they passed on some big animals, or they just saw lots of animals and just maybe couldn't get to them. So it's a great time, and we really, guys have, depending on the area, been really successful. It's been nice to see.
Now, when you get an elk, and this year you got one last year, so you didn't put in for one or didn't get the draw this year, but the sausages and the salamis and the burgers and everything like that can be really taken care of in the store as well, because you guys have all the processors and meat slicers and grinders.
Yeah, that's the nice part. When you've got your own grinder and you're processing your own animal, you can kind of work that animal up in pieces. So if a lot of times I'll take, just instead of adding suet to my burger, I'll just do some straight burger, knowing that I'm going to make jerky out of that, or I'm going to take a nice roast and then just slice it and throw it on the dehydrator. But this is a great time of year where maybe it's a little cold outside, fire up the smoker or the dehydrator and get your jerky and stuff done.
Well, and that's the best part, is we haven't had too much of a winter snap yet, a little bit of snow here or there. So it's still weather-wise great to get out on the smokers and even the grills. Yeah,
it's comfortable enough to be outside. I mean, we were just fishing a week ago, so and we'll probably be out there again. So there's plenty of good time for smoking and dehydrating and still being out in the field.
And it's okay. You could use that roast from your deer or your elk or whatever to put on your Thanksgiving table. trouble. It'd be a great idea.
Yeah, and well, Thanksgiving, everybody has a few extra days off, and so it's a great time to kind of just plan ahead and make sure you've got your sausage kits and your jerky mix, and while the turkey's cooking, throw some meat on the dehydrator and get your jerky going.
You can hear in the background, it sounds like some guys are still sighting in their bows and maybe doing a late season bow hunt.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of that, but we're just getting ready for target season. We've got a lot of guys with the indoor range stuff and a lot of the target stuff. So now that everybody's harvested their animals, they're kind of switching gears from the hunting bows to the target bows.
Which we'll be talking about ice fishing before you know it. And everything we know, if La Nina or El Nino or Cousin Bob or whatever the weather pattern happens, like they say, it's going to be a good ice fishing year.
Yeah, and we've got most of our ice fishing product already in and on the shelf. So if you are that guy that always waits till the last minute and your favorite lure is always out of stock, now's the time to get in.
Yeah. Get in and check out everything at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports, whether it's clothing, gear, hiking gear, camping gear, even rifles and shotguns and handguns and all of it. They've got it here at Rocky Mountain Discount Sports.
It's Hunting Outdoors, My Country 95.5.
You mentioned a few minutes ago, Brian, that you were just out fishing last week and probably going to do a little bit more fishing before it freezes over, hopefully anyway.
Yeah.
How's the bite?
It's still been pretty good. We were down at Glendo last weekend, and a couple of friends of mine said they had a really good Saturday, so we went down Sunday. They did say it was more of an afternoon bite, and that proved to be true for us. We jumped all over the lake, and we were marking fish, and they weren't real active and weren't biting. We were throwing minnows and spoons and some jigging wraps, but about 12:30, 1 o'clock, started throwing some minnows and some slip bobbers, and we were trying to target some crappie, and we ended up did catch 3 nice 14-inch crappie and one probably 7 or 8 incher, and then a handful of walleyes on that slip bobber as well. So the bite did pick up in the afternoon, probably from 1 to 3. It was probably our best bite, and we probably ended up catching 30 walleyes, probably only 3 or 4 that were over 15. But it kept us pretty active.
Do you have an idea of what the temperature was when you started getting hit? Was it like mid-50s, upper 50s?
The water temperature was right around 52. So I'm not sure how much that had to play in it, or if it was just, the conditions. It was pretty calm. We didn't have much wind. And they just seemed like they wanted a real slow presentation. So
over the last few days, wind has been a pretty big issue. So when you get out there this time of year, they're going to move and react a little more with that heavy winds?
It's hard saying, if, usually the spoon and jig and wrap bite, picks up pretty good right now because of the shad and stuff there. And if that bite, continues on or gets better, then the spoons and stuff will be fine. But if those fish really are looking more for a finesse bite, when it's windy, it's kind of hard to feel that bite on your line with the bow in your line and stuff. So
when you go out on a day like that, obviously, you're not in the water, you're out, and the wind is getting with you. It's a little bit chilly. Are you going out with like the same idea you would clothing wise, where you're dressing in layers, and then about midday you're stripping them off?
Oh yeah, and it was like that this week. We put on a nice pair of wind pants, or I use my ice fishing pants or bib overalls type of stuff. But yeah, midway through the day we're taking those off and just burning up. So pretty much wearing a sweatshirt or long sleeve shirt.
And I've seen a few guys that have been, had their bibs on or whatever. When they're going to pick that stuff out, what's the best way to fit it? Because not everybody's shaped the same, but...
Yeah, you got to try that stuff on. A lot of that, guide wear, that insulated stuff, you're going to be wearing, probably a jacket with it or, a heavy sweatshirt, that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that they're bulky enough. So, if you normally wear a size large, you might go an XL on something that you're, going over the top of.
Preparing just like you would go out on your hunt on a cold weather day, doing that fishing wise would be better for you.
Yeah, I usually carry a dry bag full of, like my rain gear type of stuff, my bibs. And before I get on the water, I'm usually putting the bibs on, and depending on how windy it is, what I'm going to wear for a jacket. But then as the day goes on, I'm usually stripping that stuff off, throwing it back in the dry bag and starting over for the next trip.
Yeah, pre-planning, that's a pretty good idea no matter what you're doing, especially when it comes to clothing. When you were at Glendo, what did the water levels look like? Are they coming up at all?
Yeah, Glendo's up to around 30%. I think Pathfinder's still somewhere in that 30%, and Seminoles around 50%. Water levels at Boysen are holding really good. They're still high, and I think Keyhole's doing pretty well also. So the river's flowing pretty low, like 450, 500. We really need to have a good wet winter to get these reservoirs filled back up.
Yeah, and we've had a little bit of snow over the last couple of weeks, so that really could help us eventually.
Yeah, and it seems a little early, but this time last year, I remember having to pick up a whole lot of tree limbs out of my backyard because of that first early heavy wet snow in October. So it's that time of year, and now the leaves are falling off, so hopefully we won't have as much tree damage. But we definitely need the moisture, and so as much as we hate to see it and play in it, we need it bad.
Well, if you're getting out and catching some big ones, let us know. You can stop into the store and chat with Brian or chat with anybody there, and let us know how the fish bite's been for you. Or you can even hit him. You guys have a great Facebook page. It's very interactive.
Yeah. Send us a message. We'll post your picture, or tag 95.5 on there, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. It's a good time of year. It's not too hot, and I really like that. I really like the cold. So
yeah, it's a great time of year. And there's so much to do. Like I said, we're out there fishing, but down at Glendo, there's guys shooting pheasants all around us, and duck hunting starting up. Goose hunting going up. We still got a bunch of big game going on. So
enjoy it is what you're saying.
Wyoming Hooking and Hunting Outdoors on My Country 95.5.
All right, welcome in to Wyoming Hooking and Hunting Outdoors. A great show has already been had, and it can only get better because we're bringing in Jamie and Lindsay and the Dallas Safari Club. Have you heard of it yet? If you haven't, it's fairly new to the area still. And ladies, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, we're definitely excited to be here, and we're glad that whoever is tuning in, that you can hear about who we are and what we're about.
You hear the name Dallas Safari Club and you're like, well, what the heck is this doing in Wyoming? It's a great organization that does good things.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, safari isn't like our favorite word, especially because, we live in Wyoming. And when you think of safari, you ultimately think that, we're traveling to Africa, and we're not just that. We want people to think of safari as an adventure, so if you actually do look up safari in the dictionary, that's exactly what it is. It's an adventure. And, hunting, whether you're hunting squirrels in your backyard, or you are traveling worldwide, it's always an adventure. So ultimately, the Dallas Safari Club stands for conservation, education, and we advocate for hunters, not only locally, but for hunting across the world. Within the Wyoming chapter of the DSC, 95% of the funds we raise goes towards projects of our choosing right here in the state of Wyoming.
Now, the Dallas Safari Club is still fairly new here in Wyoming. So what you're looking for now is new members.
Yes. So before I said we have about 160 active members within the state. So we want to offer, monthly meetings to our members. And, we really are focused on family. Part of the big thing that we're looking towards doing is trying to educate more women and, kids to get involved.
We really want to push that we're the Wyoming chapter of the Dallas Safari Club. And Dallas Safari Club, like nationally and worldwide, allows these chapters such as Wyoming to get very involved in our state. And we get to allocate those funds how we want to, and we get to create the type of program that we want to. That's where it's important to Jamie, and it's important to all of us that are on the board that, right now we're still in the baby stages here, but it's our time that we can get our boots on the ground and really create something cool and something that we know that we're going to make sure that our state and our sportsmen out there and women and children are all benefiting from that.
So you even mentioned that the DSC is new here in Wyoming, but you guys have been giving back and working with women and children.
Yes, absolutely. We established kind of like a mini sector within our club, and it's called Women in the Field. So a couple times a year, we want to try to get together and put together events just for women. The first one that we did, we put an event together at Wyoming Gun Company. We gave away a pistol, we gave away some free classes, but we had about 50 women show up. And what was really cool is that, there was a wall of guns and we could shoot whatever we wanted. And so, we had some women try out some, AKs, some just hand pistols, some I mean, some rifles, a whole bunch of different things that they could just get their hands on and get familiar with these guns. And that's one of the events that we've done, and we want to put together more like that for women.
Do you think in a situation like this that if a woman goes to a group where it's not all men, that she wouldn't feel near as intimidated? Because if a guy is trying to mansplain things to you, it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. But if it's all women, it makes you kind of, be on ease a little bit.
I think absolutely. Like, I know personally, I mean, with what I've done in the outdoors over the last 10 years as a woman, and a lot of women have tried, and I mean, no offense, guys, but, there's some that are like, God, I've tried to go with my husband so many times and like, he, it just didn't work, or we didn't get along. Or I think it's important to advocate for women out there and just be like, you can come out and we can create these scenarios for you, and we can create these events, and there's no pressure and there's no reason to be nervous. And, you have every right to be out there enjoying it just as much as a man does, and I think it's important too, to educate the women, to be able to help them educate their children. Some women want to get their kids out there, and if they're single moms and maybe they don't have the opportunity, they don't know what to do. And hopefully through programs, such as Jamie's talking about, and that we will create in the future, hopefully we can help remedy that. It's nice to see this because you don't really see this a lot. If you go to some of these banquets, you see all the husbands that are members and then their wives, they come with them. But, maybe now this would be an option for ladies to bring their husbands to their hunting club.
I would love to see nothing more than to see more ladies bringing their husbands to a banquet like that. And yeah, it's not just about the guys.
That is absolutely true. Now, later this month, you guys are having another big event. It's Black Friday, and you're watching some football up at Gruner Brothers.
Yeah, so we're bringing in the big screen, and we're gonna take over the whole brewery for that day. So $25 will get you in the door. It'll get you a free beer. It gets you a raffle ticket to win a signed Jay Novacek football, and we're going to have a lot of fun. Yeah, and it covers your food. And it covers your food.
So we're going to have like an entire room with just like tailgating themed food. So that $25 ticket gets you your food for the evening too. And then, I mean, it's, guns, beer, and football. So, I mean, what more can you ask for? Really?
Exactly. And it's a great way for people to get involved with this club. To become a member, is it difficult? Do you have to sign up, or you have to put your credit card in and pay a whole bunch of money?
Actually, no. So membership to the Wyoming Club is free right now. So we're going to have all the information on what to do to sign up and to join at the event. And if you have any questions, Lindsay and I will be there. Other members of our board and other folks who have been involved within the club will also be there to answer questions.
That's awesome. You can go check out the website, yodsc.org, or on Facebook, it's Hunting Wyo. Jamie, Lindsay, you guys look forward to hearing more about the Dallas Safari Club.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely, we will. All right, you can get over to the My Country 95.5 app, listen to all of our other episodes, and find out more about the Dallas Safari Club. Thanks again for tuning in. Another great show coming next week.